What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Billions After Show, where tonight we are talking trial prep, unwanted gifts, and cuddling? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk cuddling. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
I love this intro music. Loving the new intro music we have going on. It's not really that new. We've had it for a while. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Billions After Show. It's good to be back. We had a hiatus last week, but I missed my Billions. I didn't know what to do on Sunday. I was just kind of sitting there twiddling my thumbs. But happy to be back. And I'm your host, Nadine, Della, Pelle. And with me is Mr. Keven Undergaro. Welcome back, Kev.
Very nice to be back, and I share your sentiment. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I know, right? It was just like craziness. It was what do we do on Sundays without it? And it's sad to think that there's only 2 more episodes after the one from tonight, so we're really gonna have to figure something out. Regina is out today for the weekend, the holiday weekend, but she will be back next week with us. So we miss you, Regina. Come back. And yeah, Kev, let's talk first of all initial thoughts on the episode. Blank stare.
I'm sorry. You just see, I don't know, I see where this is all going. Of course, I loved it. I'm obsessed with the show, but I do see where this is going. Mm-hmm. And they're laying it out. I see, I don't know, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I see now I see Axe at the end of the series going away to jail. Ooh. To not be, and because he refused to, he lives up to what he said in this episode to Wendy, which is, I will never sell you out. I will never. And I feel like he won't. And I feel like they are and I feel like I feel like what they were saying in that scene, and when again, we're probably getting ahead, is that they're the true partnership.
Yeah, they really are. And we see that a lot, especially with her talks with Chuck throughout the episode, which we'll talk about. Yeah. But we see that the truest relationship is the two of them, which is great, but also a little scary.
But she knows where all the bodies are buried, and this is the beginning where this could now all get out. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm going to have your back no matter what. And in my brain, I'm like, I see him having a question of, do I save my own ass or do I save Wendy?
Yeah.
And I feel like he saves Wendy and goes and does some time.
That's a deep prediction.
Way far ahead. Hopefully not for years to come. But anyway, so I was very moved. And
his loyalty is what we're talking. His loyalty is so strong that he'll do anything for the people he loves, as we've seen, and he'll go down for the people he loves.
You know what? I like that about him. I wasn't sure about that, but we saw he did it with Wags, and so but this will be the ultimate test. Like, will he go that? But anyway, they laid that out, and Connery they laid out.
Yeah, this was a big setup episode for sure. And it was great because previews for next episode look so good. I think we're going to get down into the nitty gritty.
Next week is Pentultimate, correct? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Next week, it's going to, a lot of stuff is going to come out. Is Taylor going to actually show up to the hearing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. What's going to happen with everything that has been built up. I thought it was a great episode. I really did like this. I enjoyed it. I enjoy seeing Bobby and Wendy's relationship on that end of the personal end. I like seeing how she's able to convince him to do the right thing a lot of the times. I like seeing what's the reality of Chuck and Wendy now in their relationship, how it's not going to work at all.
Nadine, did you ever feel that Chuck and Wendy were right for one another from the beginning of the series?
No, it was just such an odd pairing. What I would like is maybe a spin-off to show beforehand, like how did they their meet up, what caused them to fall in love with each other. I feel like they maybe used to be the same but different, wanted similar things in a sense, and then the world happened and life happened, as we know, and power happened, power trips happened.
And I and again, sorry, I don't want to throw off the format, but I will say I like this season of. This is my favorite Chuck Rhoades.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, because it's
because he was more of a tattletale. He felt like a rat, a tattletale, kind of like the one ruining the fun. You know what I mean? Like you see,
but he's just not a good guy this season, though. When it comes to the people that he loves, like we talk about Bobby and loyalty.
Has he ever been?
I think he's had more loyalty or more care, I think, for the people he loves more so. And now it's more just he'll do anything.
Can you name an example of when? Think of what he sold out his dad. He sold out. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but I think
for his end goal.
I think I'm looking more in terms of Wendy and his relationship with Wendy. And I feel like he's always had her back more than he does clearly now.
To a degree.
Yeah.
But if he really had her back, why was he focused on destroying her boss?
Yeah.
I feel like with Chuck, he really is about the end goal. Partly is his own success, but partly it's like this like justice. I'm going to change. There's still that Chuck in him. It's like, this is justice. I'm going to change the system. I'm going to do right by the little people. But he'll burn anyone in his path to get there. And we saw that with Axe, but then now we have seen other signs of Axe where he comes to his senses and says, you know what, you can take the kids. He tells the wife.
Oh yeah.
And he says to Wendy, okay, you're right, and I'm gonna take my foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
Because you're right. And anyway, but what I don't know. It's just, I guess maybe because Chuck is not being a party pooper. Like, I like him going after Jock. I like that. Like, I love everyone he's going against. I mean, in Connerty, it's like, I like Connerty, but he's another one.
Oh, I'm hating Connerty.
But now because he's going
rogue.
Like, I just think nobody likes a rat. Nobody likes a party pooper. Like, don't you like seeing the parties on the yachts and everyone having fun? And
that's
I know
the Billions mentality,
right?
For sure.
And we're not thinking more deeply about who they hurt, maybe to get that. But then when you have the guys on the other end who are like, I want to stop this. I want to stop the party. You're kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, I think the character changes we've seen. I feel like we've seen Bobby in more of a positive light, changing for the better, and I feel like Chuck has just gone in such a different direction.
But don't you like seeing him help Bobby? Like there's a little bit of it. Today we saw,
and we saw a little fight
a
today.
little chink in the armor, which is like no, a crack in the armor. I'm like no, I like them working together.
Yeah, I know, and I think Wendy's going to be that kind of massive crack that's going to cause it all to fall apart.
Nadine,
we'll get into
this is what you women do to us. This is what you guys do. Well, because it's classic. I mean, they both.
Well, they were, the whole thing was they came together for Wendy, and they'll fall apart
and
for Wendy.
Two different sets of advice, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
We will. But first, let's get into Chuck's side of things. First of all, it's New Year's Day. It is wintertime in New York City, and everyone is doing something crazy.
Okay, one criticism.
Yes.
Okay, only because I'm a Christmasaholic.
Christmas, okay.
And
you wish it was Christmas Day?
No, isn't it just weird that it's New Year's Day? Normally,
we skipped a bigger holiday.
Right.
Yeah.
Or where's the Christmas decorations in the background? Do you know what I mean? The leftover. I mean, is Axe Capital that focused on money?
I think so.
That there's no tinsel, nothing?
I don't think there is. No, I think you see bananas and you see little cuties that Wendy eats. That's all we ever really see of everything outside of work is that little area where they eat, kind of. That's it. We don't see anything.
Just focus on the money.
Yeah, and that's what we saw with him calling everyone into the office.
Fair enough.
Until she got in his head and told him, hey, let them go.
But you didn't see it anywhere else. So are we to believe that everyone in this world is so consumed with their goals that the holidays just don't come in? But I'm just saying,
I think we only saw interior shots really this
but still
episode.
Even an interior shot, right? There's nothing, and by the way, it has to be by design because there's compliment. They just think things too far. There's just too many connections here, so it's too thought out. And as I'm processing it,
that's what you're thinking. No, that's a good thing to bring up. But I mean, I don't think that like Rhoades Sr. is going to be decorating his little living room.
Right. Well, when you think of these characters, their minds are just
not on that, not focused on it. His wife was, down in the Keys, I think he said, or I forget where he said that she was. So she'd be the one to decorate, but
you're
she's
right.
Not there.
And they touched on the fact that most of the people I know that around the holiday season, it is all about Miami and St. Bart's.
Getting away.
It's all about that. And they touched on that. So fair, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I like that. This is why I've missed you, because you bring up this stuff that I was like, I didn't even think of that.
This is what the old guy thinks.
Exactly. So let's talk about, on Chuck's side of things, let's talk about the big bug that has now happened to his house, his residential house, and his father's residential house.
Bad.
We knew that when this deal came from Krakow, where he was giving giving Senior the ability to help him get a loan where he wasn't able to get loans to help with his building site, we knew that something was going to come of this later, that it wasn't just going to be this easy.
So bad.
And now we see that because the loan was failing basically, and in order to get it back, they have to pay him $5 million. But all of this is being recorded now by Brian and his team, which is absolutely insane. And when Brian shows the judge this wiretap, he gets this level of excitement that I haven't seen in a while. It's this deep-rooted, dark hatred, excitement. If I don't even know how to describe it, but you can just see in his eyes there's this fire of hate, and that he is willing to do whatever he can do in order to get Chuck. And no matter how many times the judge has laid out that there are provisions that you cannot do with this wiretap, that he cannot hear a lot of stuff that's personal.
And you have to listen carefully as an audience to those stipulations, because they're all going to pay off.
And they
so
will.
Keep going.
Completely. They will pay off. And then he has the audacity to put Kate as the leader of this taint team, where her and another agent will be listening in on these tapes, and Kate can't share with Brian any of this stuff. So he puts Kate in this situation where he thinks he's going to be able to use her, and she's very clear from the beginning. Hey, no, I'm not going to jail for you. I know what you're doing. Know what you're trying to do, and this isn't happening.
Again, so another crack.
Yeah.
So now the crack is between Kate
and Brian.
And he said, hey, he throws this line at her about like, it's not Girl Scouts anymore, which to me is a bit of an insult. And that's when she fired right back at him. And she said, yeah, I'm not going to jail for you. And she said, now I watched this episode twice.
Yeah.
And the first time I watched it, when her response was, and I'm not going to visit you in jail either. The first time was like, oh, wow, they're friends and she cares about him. The second time was like, made me think that maybe she said it like, and if you're this much of an asshole to break the law and take the law in your own hands and you go to jail, I am not visiting your ass. You deserve to go where you're going.
No, completely. And she's been saying that for a while now. There's been a little bit of tension with them with the whole Chuck situation for a couple episodes now. This isn't new.
No.
So he's a little bit crazy. But I mean, do you think that was a smart move on his end for putting her on? I think it was a horrible move. No. You could have picked anyone else and you could have bought.
Everybody's on this slippery slope.
Yeah.
Down. I think Taylor seems like the least on the slope, but I want to get your opinion on that. But everybody is making these decisions that I'm just like, oh no, this is gonna go so bad.
Yeah, and because they mentioned all the rules against this bug of what you can and can't listen to, and you see this one part when Kate opens up her folder and there's like the key in there and the ID badge to be able to get access to all the video footage.
So bad.
And we see this close-up shot of that folder. Yep. You know that his eyes are lasered in on that, and you know he's gonna steal it, or his brother that we see at the end of the episode, his crazy brother, is gonna do something to steal it. It's just not going to be a good thing that happens.
And the brother, it's interesting. So he's Irish.
Oh yeah.
And he's got the
fight.
You'd call the Shandy Irish I have Irish in me, an Irish family, and you know he's got the Irish brother who likes to drink and fight and break the law, and we see that. And I thought it was very interesting to open with U2, which is an Irish band, but obviously one of the most successful bands of all time. And when we open the show, we're in all these high-end environments. We're at the Axe office and we're at the Taylor office. But we end with a really gritty Irish song. I did not have time to find out the name of the song, but it was more of a local kind of song. It wasn't as big and glossy as a U2 song. And where is the setting but a danky Irish bar where clearly they're known, by the way. It's a neighborhood bar. Yeah. And the bouncer was like, Jack, what are you doing? You got two guys on the floor, and he's like, Bob, he says to, Connery, he's like, just get him out of here. Yeah. But that's a bad move, deal with the devil. But what is his new sensei telling him?
Yeah.
Go kamikaze.
And that's what I was going to ask you is I think this guy is going to actually be the downfall of Brian. I think this stuff going on in Brian's head where he's just making him do everything you possibly can to get what's yours, kind of. And I think this is not good advice for Brian. I think Brian needs to kind of.
All right, I have a question for you, and maybe our fans in the chat or in YouTube and iTunes can comment on, but the sensei coming in sometimes with these shows, and Game of Thrones did too. They bring in these new characters, and I'm kind of like, and I feel like they want us to get behind them. And at first, I roll my eyes. Yeah, I did that a little bit with Lauren. Like, okay, here's
What's
like another
the point of this? Yeah.
Right, and with this sensei guy, it was like, like, I don't know if I buy Connery being. And listen, 2 more episodes in, I'll be drinking the Kool-Aid, but am I the only one?
No, I think the reason for it is that this Brian needed help to get pushed over the edge to go just even further, to go further than he even knew that he wanted to go. And I think this guy is bringing that out.
So you're okay with it?
I'm not okay with the direction Connery's going, but I'm okay with
creatively, I'm saying.
Creatively, yes, I am okay with it because I feel
that
makes
sense. He needs someone to confide in.
Yeah, because Kate's not there for him. It's just him by himself, and we're not even seeing Jock in any of these episodes being there to like push him and go forward. we know that he is doing this not just for Jock, he's doing this for himself and his own revenge. And I think because he's not that bad of a guy, he never really was that bad of a guy. And I think this revenge has caused him to be. So I think morally he may have stopped himself, but I think now with this sensei here kind of pushing him over the edge, that's what's going to cause his own downfall. So what do you guys think? Please let us know. But yeah, it was crazy. And his brother now can pick safes or can break into safes. And as we see, Chuck and Ira's now Chuck's lawyer. So any conversation that Ira's in the room for, Brian cannot listen into. Right. And that safe is definitely going to get broken into next episode, I am sure, 100%. By Brian's brother. And it's going to cause havoc. But what also caused havoc almost every day, which is amazing, is good kind of havoc. AfterBuzz TV shows, and you are wonderful fans here watching it with us. I just wanted to give quickly a shout out to you guys and thank you very much for being the best fans ever. We love doing these shows. We love getting to sit here and talk about the stuff that makes us go crazy and wild and excited every week, and we cannot do that without you. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, for giving us 5 stars on iTunes, for all your comments throughout the weeks. We love looking at it, watching it, and interacting with you guys. So from the bottom of all of our hearts here at AfterBuzz, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's dive in now to the prep, what I like to call the prep. We're all everyone's prepping for Wendy's trial here. Right. We have Taylor's prep, and who's on her side of the prep, or actually let's start first with Wendy. Wendy's prep is Oren, Bobby, Chuck, Spiros, and Ari. And then on Taylor's side, we have Sarah, Lauren, Mafi, and Lonnie. Can you believe that Lonnie is there? Do we think that it was smart for Taylor to bring Lonnie on, and why?
I was going to ask you the same thing. Is he a double agent? Is there any chance? Is there any chance at all?
I don't even know why he's included anymore. It's like I understand that his whole point is to be able to counteract any prep that Chuck is giving Wendy, because he knows Chuck's brain very, very well. But the thing is, we see on the other side is that Wendy's not listening to Chuck's prep. So it's not even going to be worth it in the sense. But they don't know that, obviously. But it's also like, get your own guy to do prep work. I don't know. I feel like Taylor just keeps taking all of these characters from Bobby and Chuck's world and bringing it into theirs, and it's just like just bring someone else in there.
When you are the underdog, you have to take risks.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
And they are the underdog, so they have to take the bigger risk. So I buy it, but I was wondering. I was questioning if he was there, if he's a double agent, and I feel like he's not. I feel like he's genuinely adding his input. But I love his character. I love his look. I love his hair.
Oh, he's great.
I mean, so
he comes into this cool hip company and he just still looks like he walked out of the AG's office.
You know, it's hard at entertainment wise over at Team Taylor to compete with Team Bobby when you have the likes of Spiros.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
And Dollar Bill, but Spiro. I mean, you know, it's so every time
he goes over there, he cracks me up.
And when I was in their trial prep was unbelievable. And very revealing, obviously, but entertaining.
We see a lot of that, yeah. And then there wasn't much prep that we see, just going back to Taylor's side real quick. The only thing that basically Lonnie, Sarah, and Lauren say is like, hey, hang on a second. Do you really want to go there and testify? Because if you do, this can bring a lot of backlash onto you. And so do you think that let's talk before Wendy came to visit Taylor. Do you think before that conversation that Taylor should be there to testify? Or are you on the Lauren, Sarah side of like, hey, think about it for a second? Because Taylor was just like, no, I'm not thinking about it.
I'm on Lauren and Sarah's side because as soon as I heard them say that, I said, wow, this is going to be Taylor's undoing. Like this episode, we laid out what is going to be Chuck Sr.'s undoing, what's going to be Chuck's undoing, what's going to be Connerty's undoing.
You're so right, yep.
What is going to be Bobby's undoing, what's going to be Wendy's undoing, and what potentially could be Taylor's undoing. So if Taylor wisely takes the advice of her team, I think it's less about forgiving Wendy and more about listening to their team. I also think that what was in the exchange between Wendy and Taylor, this is an opportunity for Taylor to not become Bobby and Chuck, to kind of do something different.
Yeah.
Don't step on the other person's neck. And if they can avoid that, then they win the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but I think I'll go into a prediction
If
quick.
they can avoid it.
Yeah, I think that Taylor actually is going to show up. I think even though Taylor gave their word to Wendy saying, yeah, I won't show up, I think it's more of a slap in the face like, hey, you gave me your word that you basically would trust keep secret all of my personal stuff, and look what you did. And so I think it's going to be one of those things.
So Nadine, can I tease something if we have time?
Tease it.
I know
Yes.
later we have the Billenial Translation I
Yes.
did, so there was some fun gems in there. We also want to talk about the top 3 villains of this season.
Season 4.
And I really want you to stay tuned for that because Nadine's top 3 really got my wheels spinning and provoked a lot of debate, which I could not believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, go back.
We'll see. Yes. So let's get on over to Wendy's prep. And like I said, she has her team there. It's Oren, Bobby, Chuck, Spiros, and Ira who are there. Basically, Wendy has to prove that her work at Axe Cap had nothing to do with her medical license because her sessions are performance coaching sessions. So if that's the case, then there was no doctor-patient confidentiality that was broken, aka there's no case to be had. So that's the whole goal.
And there's no case to be had.
Yeah.
But
on the flip side of it, then everything
all
else,
the
other
bodies
sessions
of a decade or more
of Axe Cap
are
can
now,
come out.
by the way, 2 decades at 9/11. So think about how long this has
Everything
been.
can come out, and Wendy cannot lie because Wendy's going to be under oath.
No.
And I think that's when we're talking about, possibly Bobby going to jail. Some predictions we're talking about is if he goes to jail, whatever it is, him getting in trouble, it's going to be because Wendy did what she had to do in order to keep her license, which is throwing Bobby under the bus in one of these situations. Maybe, I don't know. You guys let us know in the chat if that's something that you guys are thinking is true. If you guys agree with that, please. So Oren does not think, is very hesitant. Is like, Wendy's not going to do good on this. Chuck ends up coming to Axe Cap, which I always find interesting when it's like walking into uncharted territories, and we see Spiros even call it out, which is hilarious, just in typical Spiros fashion. Also, side note, I think Spiros, they keep giving him more and more lines because they're realizing how amazing of a character just
Can I
to
tell
bring
you,
the
when
funny
you,
into stuff.
as a filmmaker,
Yeah.
when you get a guy like that
Yeah.
just makes you laugh all the time, it's
perfect.
I'm sure they're spending more time cutting back stuff because they probably overwrite because he's just money. Him and Dollar Bill. Dollar Bill was
completely.
always money, but now he's even more money. And you know what was interesting? When AfterBuzz interviewed Dollar Bill, for that event we did in New York, he
Amazing, by the way.
Thank you. He said his favorite scenes are with Spiro.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
He's like,
It has to be.
he goes, my favorite. We have so much fun together.
Yeah, and speaking of Spiros, we see Spiro show up in a lab coat, and lab coat, it doesn't realize that Bobby's going to be there, and they just have this look, silence, like, well, I didn't know you were going to be there, and Bobby just goes, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Fair enough, but someone who also didn't know Bobby was going to be there was Wendy, and Wendy was very hurt that Bobby didn't leave Fiji to come back to prep, and you could just see more hurt and, like, upset about it, but not, like,
her partner.
really upset. Until you see him there, and she gets so excited. She got more excited than seeing Chuck
Have you
come to
ever
help.
seen her face that excited?
No, I haven't.
Like a young girl with a crush, like
Yeah.
my man's here.
Yeah, and I think that was like a prediction for what was to come later in the episode, of that just true loyalty and feeling of you feel confident and you feel taken care of. When she saw Chuck, she's like, oh, Chuck's here, whatever. When she saw Bobby, she's like, I can breathe.
But she knew Chuck had it in him because he's a freaking pit bull. Like, and he's so resilient. Like I love when Giamatti in this role, but you notice when Chuck gets pinned down, he rarely is out of words. He always has cards in his deck, and he always comes out in a positive way. And this is one time that he could have
and decided not to, and I think Wendy knew that, as we saw from the end of the last episode. She knew. She said the line. She was like, "If you could have gotten it done, I know you would have done it." Basically.
Yeah, I know you can.
Yeah, I know you could have done it.
Right.
But so they're all sitting there doing this mock trial. Spiros is just funny at the end. But this is where we teased a little bit earlier, was Bobby and Chuck getting into a little riff, because they both don't agree with what the prep is with each other, and Wendy has to actually just stop it.
Well, it's not just that; it was shots fired.
Yeah.
Because Chuck was like, "Well, if you had done this, we wouldn't be in this situation. Well, if you had done that,"
this.
and like, "Oh, no, guys, come on."
Exactly.
Okay, another thing for the fans to tell us on YouTube or iTunes or in the chat, like, do you like these guys together? I love them working together. I don't want to see them fighting. I did that for 3 seasons. I love them together.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we need for them to all go against one common enemy, which we thought was Taylor, which it kind of is, but Chuck isn't on the train of being
No, we have Connerty. We have Jock.
Yeah, but Bobby's not really on that train, or Wendy isn't on that. I'm talking about the 3 of them working together towards one common. It should be against Taylor because that helps
I feel
Wendy.
like they tag up.
They tag up a
so
little.
They come in and help each other when they need. I love it. I don't want them fighting.
Yeah, I don't want them fighting either, but I'm just... I don't know. I'm just sick of where it's at right now because it's not strong.
So you want them fighting? What else are we gonna have?
I don't know what I want.
You want to go back to 3 more seasons of
craziness. No, I do hear what you're saying. It's just I just think Chuck is not in the right mindset to be able to be strong like that with a partnership.
Okay, so for the billion, so I bet you if I use this reference, Spy versus Spy in Mad Magazine, Koppelman and his team would know what I meant. But there was like this comedy magazine we would read as kids. And it was Spy versus Spy, and you had a spy dressed in black and a spy dressed in white, and they would just attack each other back and forth and back and forth. But that was it. No one ever won, and it went on for years. And that's what Chuck and Axe are to me, and I don't want to see that anymore.
I feel like that's happening now with Bobby and Taylor. I feel like that's what's happening now.
But okay,
and I hope we get
it's
out of
one
it.
season of it so far. I mean, so we're not getting out of it. We're not getting out of it.
We may have 3 seasons of that.
I think so.
And then we hear after that whole argument, Chuck and Wendy chat, and Chuck tells Wendy that he already made a deal for her behind her back. Basically, she can go on 2 years of probation, or she goes 6 months of probation, and then in 2 years it'll just be expunged from the record and will not even be there.
You're not going to want to hear it, but I think it's a good deal.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, because they got in a fight. He says, no, I was doing something good. And she's like, no. Like, how did I even think that I could trust you or anything?
It's a good deal.
You think it was right for him to do that behind her back without telling her he was going to go talk with the board?
Yes, because it's the best thing for her. And if you love someone unconditionally, yes, it turns out it's also the best thing for him. But if you look at her, their defense is going to completely discredit her, lose her patient privilege. The confidentiality is going to go out the window, and it's going to bury all of Axe Cap and bury her too, because if she has to violate the patient confidentiality, so Chuck actually has the perfect exit strategy.
Well, and I think the thing is, I agree with you as well, actually. And I think the thing is that she knows that, like we just said, she knows that he probably could have gotten her something better than that. But she should take it because it's 6 months. Bobby's going to hire you back. It's not like you're not going to have a job.
Yeah, no,
right?
and Bobby keeps saying that to her, like you do your great work, and most people
go away from 6 months and then come back, basically.
Well, he did say most people only care about great work, which is true. We see that, we see it in Hollywood all the time. If you can deliver the goods, they usually let everything slide, which is a problem. But she counters and says, but look at the other company wouldn't let me. The board banned me, and he was like, really?
Yeah, why are you even talking to that guy?
Yeah, well, it's just a train off a Chuck, and which is fine. He goes, okay, they just went on to my kill matrix. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. In my Billenial translations.
So I agree with you. I think that it is a good deal to take, but I understand why Wendy's hesitant, because right now in her mind as well, she's like, I have to admit guilt. I have all these other things are coming in. And then also she just doesn't like Chuck right now. So anything Chuck says that isn't supporting her fully, of being like, hey, I will do everything in my power to exonerate you.
She's in a lot of this boat because of what he did.
Exactly. And so that's why she's like, no, this is easier for you.
I get it. No, you're right.
And
I get it.
You know what? No. So I think that just rocked the boat completely. But let's jump over quick to Bobby and Wendy's conversation that we teased before, where they opened up to each other, and Bobby discussed how loyal Wendy was, talks about the story where everyone was yelling at him after this 9/11 memorial. Wendy stood up for him in front of the public, but then when they got into the car, was straight up and was like, hey, you better deliver for these people. And I just love that. That's the type of relationships you want, where they'll have your back no matter what happens in public.
You know why you like that, Nadine?
In private, they will.
And you know why you like that?
Why?
Because you're Italian.
Because I'm Italian.
And the mafia, that was the whole thing. It was always like we don't let the police handle anything. We stick up for one another against outside forces, and then we discipline within.
Yep. I loved it. And I think it, and Wendy's just proving herself more and more, even by saying, let all these people go. You brought everyone in on New Year's Day because you don't want to be alone when you work, basically is what it is.
Basically.
And he needs that person. He's always needed that person to just kind of steer him straight. Everyone needs that person.
Yes.
To steer him. Wags isn't going to be that person for him. It's definitely Wendy. It's Wendy to tell the truth. And that's why I loved at the end, that moment they looked at each other when he dismissed everyone and they just smiled at each other. And it's a great bond, but I think it'll get Bobby in trouble for sure. So it was a tender moment between them. Loved it. I don't know what's going to come of it, but he does give her the advice to go talk with Taylor and see if she can smooth things over. As we see, we talked about this before. Don't know what's going to actually happen.
I believe you're right.
I think Taylor is going to show up.
And if they do that, then that's going to be their kind of Battle of Waterloo. Mm-hmm. It's going to be their fatal error. Yeah. This is a chance to say, I'm going to do business in a new way, and I'm going to be the bigger person. Yeah. And I think ultimately they will win the Game of Thrones if they do that. But I think you're right. I think they show up at the thing, go, how do you like it? Yep. You gave me your word, and now I'm reciprocating.
Yep. But I think that because Wendy does go there, I think what you were saying as well, that all the dead bodies are going to be uncovered because of this. And that's what's going to cause more chaos for the next 2 episodes.
Or initially, Wendy is exonerated based on this defense, but now this defense opens Axe Cap up for the next few seasons for all the bodies now to...
Lots of crazy stuff. Yogi Lion in chat says, I agree with Keven. I love Bobby and Chuck together. I want Taylor gone. Whoo, Yogi, I kind of agree with you. Gavin Reagan says Axe and Chuck against the world is way better than when they were fighting each other. So we got 2 people on your side there. And Carmen S says Wendy is Axe's conscience, which I agree with.
Yes.
That's a great way to put it. A wonderful way to put it. So that was those 2 stories were our big plot points this episode. There was a couple of other things that happened which we may
Is anyone excited to see Sailors become a great store?
No, I don't really
care. Do you know
care.
It's Sears? Do you see how like
it's basically Sears?
It is and that is one of the Sears that's remaining, and that's if you even look at the way they superimpose the L, it's dim.
Oh,
so you can clearly read Sears.
That makes sense.
But changed over to Sailors. So, but I'm so excited to see which. Turned Sears into Target, which should have been done 20 years ago. Yeah. And could have been done, and they missed the boat. And I don't know.
We'll
and the Sears catalog.
If they're able to turn it around. And I think the bigger point with that whole plotline, this story, is Rebecca going to get too fed up and just walk away from Bobby? Like, what's going to happen with that?
At what point does Rebecca say, I'm in this mess because of you, dude?
And Bobby realizes it, though. Bobby is very open and says, I'm going to talk with the board. I will go and try to fix it. I know it's my mess. But still, to a point of everything that Rebecca's doing now, because Rebecca got involved with the mess in the first place. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Ooh. So that was a storyline. And then Bobby's gift fiasco. Whoever thought that 18 paintings of Picasso and amazing art would cost you $75 million in tax revenue?
So we bring in the guy.
Yep. We bring in Danny Margolis. Yeah,
Danny Margolis, they little joke because he had love handles and he was completely naked the last time we saw him.
Great.
But he's like, I'm working on 6 days a week. Yeah. Anyway, but they're going to switch out the paintings. He's going to store phonies, and Axe will show the real ones, claiming they're replicas. Yep. Does this come back and haunt?
I think that's what it is. I think this is a setup, and I also think it's also setting Victor up. Do we trust Victor still? Are we trusting Victor? Is Victor bringing this guy in? Because we see Bobby say, hey, keep this up, and you'll basically be out of the doghouse in a sense. So what's happening with these 2 characters?
Yeah, for now.
Yes.
He can be tried because it's going his way. No, I think it's all good intentions. I don't think there's any big giant plot on Victor. Just wants to make money. He's making money. But yeah, if push comes to shove, sure. No,
that's all going to come back. That was just a small little setup. And then my favorite part of the episode was Wag's cuddle session.
I tried to cuddle with Nadine at the beginning.
I didn't pay you for it.
No.
But yeah, so she, and that's just why Wendy's also so important to the company. She sees Wags.
by the way,
about his watch.
You know this professional cuddler
Oh, I do
right?
know. And that's why I'm glad they put that into the storyline.
Show's so amazing.
Yeah, they put real life stuff. This is really what people are doing.
Crying his eyes out.
And I love that everyone in the office also looks at him and no one like bats an eye about it. Everyone's just like, all right, Wags, you go do that. And then he goes and cuddles Ben Kim.
Yeah, he sends Ben Kim in. Come on.
Oh, guys, is that your favorite part? Let us know, because that was definitely my favorite part, having a big cuddle session.
He is such, the acting on the show is so amazing. Like, Wags, it's just effortless for this. You know, the way he's so good. Anyway, I know we have more to cover, so I don't want to gush too much.
Yeah, and then just quickly, because I want to get onto our segments, we are running out of time. We see Taylor and Lauren spent New Year's Eve together, their relationship status, and we see Sarah now knows about it. And Sarah's like, hey, by the way, know about it. Keep it under wraps.
Is she jealous at all?
I don't know. I always thought that. I always thought it was going to be something more, but
she hasn't appeared that way.
Didn't appear when I thought it was going to be a bigger blowout when they were found, but it was more so Sarah being like, hey, don't be like all those other dudes that are hooking up with their IRs. Like, just don't be that person.
And don't put it out there. So we know this is going to come back and haunt in some way. Well, and is there going to be a love triangle with Mafee?
Well, yep, because now Mafee wants Lauren, and so that's when it's going to come out, because something's going to happen there. And Mafee's just, I love that character too. Mafee is what Spiro's is on Bobby's side. Yeah. Mafee is on the Taylor side.
But do we agree there's no one as good as Spiro?
There's no one. Come on. He's great. And then lastly, Bonnie is going on a trip to act as the IR person, and Dollar Bill gets sad. But I just hope that's not the end of Bonnie's character for XCap. I hope she comes back.
No.
Because she's going on a trip, and whenever they send characters on a trip,
she'll be back.
It scares me.
She will be back.
It scares me.
She's too well done, and she stands out too much.
Yeah. Well, that was
even
the
her connection with Wendy.
I know. Yeah, because they're
too strong.
buddies now.
Yeah.
Let's quickly get into some news.
Do you have any news?
I do. I have just a little quick news. For anyone that's a fan of the animated show on Adult Swim, Rick and Morty, they just announced season 4 will premiere this November, and that Paul Giamatti is actually going to be a guest star character for one of these animated, whoever's going to be in there. So it's a complete opposite character of obviously him playing Chuck on Billions. So I know a lot of people watch that show. For anybody who does, I thought it'd be fun for you guys to go check out come November who he's going to play, what funny stuff they're going to have him do or say, something cool for Paul to do that he doesn't normally do. So that's our little bit of news. Now let's get into our Billenial Translator.
Okay, very good. So quickly, at the beginning they mentioned Sammy Hagar and Van Halen. Basically Sammy Hagar replaced David Lee Roth, came in, actually nailed a bunch of hits for Van Halen, and then they threw him out really fast. Okay. So the reference was in that vein of like, you're going to bring me in and use me and toss me to the side. The Taint Team.
The Taint Team.
You mentioned that earlier. So this actually came up with Cohen and Trump because the attorney-client privilege is being challenged now as they're going through all Cohen stuff, and they said we'll send in a Taint Team. So the Taint Team is lawyers, who will sift through the information to disseminate what would not be the greatest violation of attorney-client privilege. And of course, if you know what taint means, you know what taint is? Taint
someone's reputation? Or?
No, I'm sorry, honey. So you may want to block your ears, but it's in bad boy terms. It's the area between the genitals and the anus.
Gotcha.
Taint the anus and taint the...
Oh, gotcha. I've never heard that before.
And it's the area in the middle. So that's why these lawyers are technically in the middle. Right? Okay, pretty good.
Didn't know that.
Nicht gut is a German for not good.
Not good.
We mentioned The Usual Suspects, fantastic film. Chaz Palminteri's character mentions that when they put guys in jail, he talks about 3 guys are in jail, and the one guy who slept is the one who's guilty. The other 2 are like, how do I get out of this? I didn't do anything. So it's just interesting. We hear Spiro, our friend, say, "I'm cool with a K, like menthol." That's cool cigarettes.
Yep.
Okay, mentholated.
Spiros.
Okay, never let him see you sweat is from an old '80s commercial for Gillette had this roll-on called Dry Idea, and it was always like never let him see you sweat. So they have actors saying that, businessmen saying it, whatever. There's a one thing we hear the word Danzig. That's an '80s metal band. The Kill Matrix that we were talking about, Axe was saying, I'm going to put him on my kill matrix. It's also called the disposition matrix. And basically, the United States has a list of people or things they just need to get rid of. That's
one of them.
Right.
Gotcha.
So it's basically his list. We hear about in the 3 things that Wags loves, which I thought was amazing. Ellen DeGeneres. He is one of the things.
Ellen DeGeneres.
So isn't that so
stuff.
interesting? And by the way, doesn't that just show who he is?
Yeah.
He's so interesting, and I wonder if there's not some weird
Spin-off
tied to Taylor.
or
No,
spin-off
just
with
in
Wags?
fact that he one of his favorite people is
Ellen.
Ellen. So, but he also mentions Lemon 714 Quaaludes, and if anyone knows Quaaludes, they were produced between the 50s and 70s. They're supposed to be like magical, which is why we had to get rid of them. They're also very dangerous.
Yeah, of course.
Joe's Stone Crabs, I know about that from Miami. It's a famous place down in Miami.
Oh, it looks so good.
There's
when
one
he
in
brought it
Vegas
in.
too. Penn and Teller have the show called Fool Us, where they're famous magicians, but they'll sit in the audience and they'll have people go up and try to fool them with their tricks, and they figure it out. This was they made reference to how magicians do something called a force.
Okay.
Where they force you to make the decision, making you think you're making the decision
Gotcha.
when really they're
Wait, so you're
influencing you.
You're telling me magic's not real, Kev?
I didn't say that.
Oh my
I
goodness.
did not say that.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Okay, Sean Ailes is not a wartime consigliere. That's from Godfather, the Godfather series. Michael says that about Tom, his stepbrother. That I need a wartime consigliere. You're not one. And what that is, the consigliere is the advisor, and there's a wartime advisor is a different kind of advisor. Like that's someone who's good during battle or during crisis.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always said that in my business, I'm a great wartime general.
Have to be, yeah.
Peacetime commander, not so good. So anyway, then we hear Grasshopper and Master Po mentioned by Conadi's new sensei. That's from the old series Kung Fu, which is a great series from the 1970s. The austerity plan, we were talking about Victor who's on the austerity plan. That's when you're part of budget cutting measures. So, if any company is like brought in, we're going to austerity plan, it's we're cutting back. So Victor's focused on that. He's not on the big giant profit plan. He's on the safety plan, and he says, "I'll pull you off the austerity plan."
That's what that meant. Yeah.
And
okay.
then we mentions of kamikazes and how this crazy sensei is like, no, being a kamikaze is a good thing. Well, the kamikazes were, for anyone who doesn't know, during World War II, this is the warfare that was practiced by the Japanese. The Japanese pilots would fly their planes directly kamikaze style into a target, blowing themselves up but killing people in the process, and they would do it in honor of the emperor. It was a great honor to die that way, and he clearly laying it out that it's evident Connery is going to go down in flames, kill himself, take out some other people if he doesn't change his route. That's my Billenial takeover.
That was a lot.
Now should we go to our special segment?
Yes, let's go quickly. I know we have to wrap up very soon. Quickly to our special segment where we are talking about our top 3 villains from this past Billions season 4. I will let you start with number 1, and we'll go back and forth. Who would you say is first?
First is obvious to me. It's no, you know what? I was going to say Grigor. I'm going to say Jock.
Jock? Okay. Well, I will say Grigor is next.
Yes.
And then I will say the third one, who I think is Taylor. I think Taylor is the most massive villain of season 4 for so many reasons. We can tease this. I can talk about this more next time.
You said the most massive, so even more than Grigor.
I think more than Grigor because
Tell me why.
I am not a fan of Taylor's character. This entire what?
Nadine, you are a social justice warrior, millennial snowflake female. How dare you?
I had a lot of respect and backing up for them, and I really wanted them to succeed. But the way that they have gone down the same route as Bobby, as Chuck, as Wendy even, and become the person. And we see Wendy even say that to Taylor, you don't want to be us. This is everything you've always not wanted to be. And we've seen Taylor now become that. And I hate that. And I hate that Taylor's gone down that route. I hate the way that they position themselves. I am just not a fan. I know you guys are all going to argue with me in the
Nadine,
chat. Please do.
Can I counterpoint?
Yes, please counterpoint.
So we're going to vilify her we're going to vilify them for practicing the behavior of...
Not vilify. I don't need another character for that.
You said that this is the biggest villain. We're talking about biggest villains of season 4.
Biggest villain is Taylor. Biggest villain is Taylor. Hate me for it. I don't know. Somebody who we thought
they continually attack their business. Listen, Team Bobby continually mercilessly attacks their business, attacks their father. I mean, as underhanded as you can get. And is Taylor not entitled to defend themselves?
But Taylor is also on the offensive. Taylor is not this innocent being that's just on the defensive. And that's why
out of necessity or
I think out of revenge too. It's not just necessity. I think it's its own revenge against Axe Cap. I wish we could sit here all day.
One more thing. I'm going to say one more thing. But it's out of necessity because the Team Axe is not going to stop. So I feel like Taylor, it's out of necessity. They feel they need to do this to maintain their business.
Well, to each his own there, Kev, to each his own. Being a Bab Girl says, I agree with Nadine. Taylor is on a malicious path. Wow. We'll drop it there.
Wow.
We got into a lot of predictions before, so we can skip that right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please, we've talked a lot of heated stuff tonight, so leave your comments. Let us know what you guys think. Who is the biggest villain? What's happening this season?
And follow at Nadine. Where do we follow you?
Yep, you can follow me at Nadine and Della. And where can they follow you, Kev?
At Undergaro. But you got to really follow Nadine because you're good at this. Gosh darn it,
I need you here more often. I need the build up there. Thank you guys so much. Next week, gonna be crazy. Please come back. Stay tuned. Love you guys. Have a good week.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.